Howdy YouTube. I have decided to do a second video on this whole series I was doing. I guess I only really covered the first topic last time, which was like information and words, and the others are like energy and value and technology. So I quickly want to get into those and give a quick run through of what they mean to me. Right, I am interested in some very far out wacky topics, I guess, for a lot of people. I give credence to a lot of ideas that I think a lot of people would find very bizarre and very unusual, and that's okay and that's great, because in my opinion, if you have a particularly big problem, you're gonna have to throw everything at it to really get right down to the bottom of it. So what does energy mean for me? Energy to me means everything. Everything is energy. Everything is vibration. Everything is vibrating at a certain level or a certain frequency. And I want to put forward the idea that you choose that in yourself. You choose how you want to feel according to your own vibration, or how alive you are, what kind of vibe you give out as a person. And there's some amazing material out there by Abraham Hicks. And Abraham Hicks are this publishing company from America, and it's Jerry and Esther Hicks that run the show, and here's the wacky part: they are basically channeling alien messages through non-physical beings called Abraham, who teach us that everything is vibration, and that through vibration you attract what you look for. And they published a book about, I think, 15 years ago or roundabouts, called Ask and It Is Given, and it deals with the whole secret phenomenon. In fact, it was the origin of it, and it says you can have, or you can be, do, and have anything you want, essentially, because your energy, your vibration is the force that attracts you, and it actually creates your world. And basically the second half of the book details through this emotional scale, where basically you can raise the way you feel by asking yourself certain questions. Now, I highly recommend you go get this book and read it over and over and over again until you utterly believe it, because it is, I think it's utterly true, and I've seen some amazing stories from people who've used this kind of technology to the absolute highest benefit. And there are three questions really. I think I kind of covered them in the last video, where I think it can basically cover a lot of the ground that book goes over. And the first one I ask in relation to any situation where I'm feeling particularly angsty or perhaps grim, I'd ask myself the question, who am I in relation to this? Now, the notion of self is a weird one, and it's one that a lot of kind of philosophers and psychologists have suggested is largely constructed. It's, the construction of the ego, the person that we think we are, in a sense, is essentially not real, and is a collection of all the thoughts that we haven't addressed, all the issues that we haven't fully overcome, and all the things that come up from the past are basically insecurities wanting our attention so we can resolve them. And so, in my opinion, the idea of self is more an emotional response, is more a collection of vibrational preferences, if you will excuse the terminology. It sounds very technical, but that's largely the way our personality is driven. It's driven by the way we feel in certain circumstances. Now, it's a very fractured thing, by and large, because of fear and many other negative influences. Our vibration varies from location to location. It is distorted and twisted. And so this question essentially points me towards where I actually would like to be. Because if it's not my notion of myself, if it's not a solid thing, if it's not a permanent thing, if it's actually very malleable and very adaptable, then I can choose it, and I can choose the way I feel about it. So that's the first question I ask. Who am I really? Or who do I want to be? Who do I want to see myself demonstrated as? As far as I'm concerned, that is the meaning of all life, as the book Conversations with God avidly and extremely adeptly and absolutely fascinatingly goes into. Highly recommend you check that book out. It's an absolute life changer. That's the first one. Who am I? And the second one is, what do I have to do to die complete? Now, in my opinion, life is a mission to nowhere. We're on a road to nowhere, in a sense that exterior circumstance may change, And that really doesn't matter. That's not really the defining force of what makes our lives go. What really matters to us is how we respond to them. And more importantly, what do we really want to see demonstrated in our absolute highest self? Now, to really answer this question, all you have to really do is live the highest version of yourself, the absolute most glorious, incredible, joyous experience of your own life you can feel every moment of every day for the rest of your life, and wash away everything to the contrary. But personally, I lean more towards the positive angle because your brain it can't even compute negative thinking. Negative thinking is a poison for the mind, and in my opinion, it should be utterly thrown out. So, as much as I'm a hypocrite for thinking some of the things I do and saying some of the things I do some of the time, that is a standard I try to hold myself to every single day. Of course, it's an immense challenge, but that's exactly why it should be done. Really, at the end of the day, the challenge of all of this is really what will keep you going, because it provides so much emotional momentum, it will become addictive, and it will replace all the negative addictions in your life up to this point, if you let it. And the third question is, if I encounter a negative situation or myself thinking in a certain way, I take a cue from Evan Pagan, and I basically turn the negative into a positive how-to. Like, for example, if I'm in a situation where I can't breakdance, I think, what have I got to do to learn to breakdance? And then they cancel themselves out very nicely, if I follow through. So, those are the three questions. And I highly recommend a book called Power versus Force, which is not particularly scientific, but as a theological construction is absolutely amazing. That's the main kind of idea I want to get across through this video. Now I have a few other things I want to quickly go over. For example, take care of your health. Exercise and sleep. Research powerfulsleep.com has some amazing ebooks that you absolutely must check over. It has many techniques you can use to really maximize the quality of your sleep. Check out your diet, as I always say. Switch to raw foods and stuff like that. Exercise organization and time management, and really set your priorities and pour everything that you want to do into your life through a system you can trust. Check all negative thoughts at the door, as I said before. Research chakras. Research removing muscular stress, muscular tension. And I think basically, of course, the one other really important one is the quality of your social group. If you're not living in a social situation where you're feeling absolute highest joy and uttermost deepest intimacy, I highly recommend you leave that situation immediately and never look back. That's extremely important. And all these things can be very subtle. And I realise now you have to exercise each one of these every single day to really experience the absolute utmost benefits. It's really important to do that, because otherwise you leave the option open for other people making the choices for you. So exercise these every day, and hopefully you'll get to the point where you experience a deep kind of sensuality through all of this. That's really the utmost of it. The basic thing I'm trying to get across is, if you take care of yourself, you elevate yourself to the spiritual level very quickly. And it's only because I think very few people really take it to the absolute fullest all the way, because they assume, and they guess, they try and assume that there are many different excuses they can level to not get to that point. But if you do that, you can achieve a sensuality through your daily experience, which is utterly empowering and utterly extraordinary, and it can only get better from that point on. So dive into it and don't be afraid. And hopefully your ideal best will become an invisible habit if you try all this for 30 days. That's the challenge. That's the challenge I want to see people trying. That's the challenge I want to take up right now today. So, highly recommend you check out all of those things, and you do your best to really give yourself the life that you're really craving, I guess. Godspeed and good luck to you.